Should have started recording when I said all that. So if you weren't on the thyroid workshop um, previously on Monday night, then if you need the link for that, let me know. Or if you want to pass it along to anybody, you can feel free to do that. So it's just a link that plays the video. So anyway, we're gonna move on. Today, I need to get started here so we don't run out of time. Let me share my screen with you guys. So today I wanted to talk on a topic that we actually have covered briefly in the past. Um, I think it was actually in the Q&A that I did when I was on a field trip at Memorial Stadium with my son, where I think Becky had asked a question, and maybe it's come up more than once, but about creatine. So creatine usage, and I'm going to go a little bit higher level in that today because I think you guys should all know creatine. Like, of course, when we're looking at here's the reality. You guys all know this because I have a lot of you guys ask me about different supplements that maybe I have you taking. Like, what about creatine? What about NAD? What about? I mean, there's so peptides. I mean, goodness gracious, I could spend 5 grand a month if I really wanted to, and I took everything every month, right? So we have to prioritize. And so sometimes I don't talk or give you guys these recommendations like creatine in your like schedule because it is a commonly known one, number one, and also call it a bonus because I know you guys are on so many other. Sometimes you just have to prioritize things, but creatine is one, and NAD it would be in that. I mentioned NAD. NAD plus is also another one that can be really really powerful. So let's dive into a little bit more about creatine and what it actually does, what it's actually shown to do, and why you guys, if you're not currently taking it, why you should think about that. And also, in addition to that, there's going to be some details, so pay attention because I know a lot. Maybe some of you guys are like, "Oh, creatine. I mean, I already take it. I've taken it for years." There's going to be a couple things in here that you might want to think about that you might not know or have never done before. So pay attention to that. Number one, again, this is just kind of the myth out there is creatine. It's kind of being debunked. I think more people understand this, but creatine is not just for bodybuilders, and it's not just for muscle gain and all that kind of stuff. And then also another kind of myth. You do have to be careful. I'll say it right now. The disclaimer is if someone has kidney disease, kidney damage already pre-existing, we got to be careful with creatine use potentially, but the myth is that it causes kidney damage. I mean, creatine is a natural, highly researched supplement that does not show any evidence of that. Okay, so the persistent myth is preventing people like you from accessing one of the most researched and safest supplements available. And obviously, the benefits extend far beyond muscle building. Again, that is one benefit of it. So it helps your workouts and all that kind of stuff, but that's just one small thing it does. Okay, so many patients of mine and patients all over the world are missing out on one of the most researched supplements due to outdated myths. Meanwhile, so this is kind of what people struggle with, of course, that creatine can potentially help with is low energy during workouts and daily activities. If you're struggling with muscle recovery, maybe between your exercise, or maybe you're just kind of always dealing with muscle recovery, sore muscles, tight muscles, things like that. Age-related muscle loss and decreased strength. Okay, obviously pretty important there. So we don't want to lose muscle mass as we get older, as much as we can help it, because that's just so important for so many things. Not only bone health and fall risk prevention, but also you guys know blood sugar regulation, all sorts of stuff. Suboptimal mitochondrial function and cellular energy production. So creatine, what is happening? Something's popping up on my screen. Sorry, remind me later. Suboptimal. So mitochondria is where energy is produced, right, in your cells, and so creatine has an effect on that. Cognitive decline. So here's a big one for a lot of us. Maybe it's brain fog. Maybe it's some other cognition issues, memory, short-term memory loss, all those kind of things. Okay, cognitive decline during periods of stress and metabolic challenge. All right, so it can be beneficial with that. The reality that makes it worse. Well, people avoid creatine due to fear mongering a lot of time, and this is a lot in the past. Like I said, this has changed a lot over the last few years. You're unknowingly accepting decreased phosphocreatine stores. So basically, it's like your phosphocreatine is so creatine's stored in your body. If you're not using it, it's stored in your body for later. So it's like your energy currency is what we call it. So when you're when you're in need of more energy and more high demand, then it's released. Okay, so that would be obviously a good thing. Also, reduced ATP regeneration capacity in both muscle and brain tissue because the brain depends on this too. ATP, if you don't know, stands for, not that this matters, but adenosine triphosphate. ATP is energy. Okay, so every energy in our bodies is ATP. We need ATP. It's made by the mitochondria inside of your cells. Slower satellite cell activation for muscle repair. So satellite cells help repair muscles. So again, if you're exercising, training, and you're feeling beat up, if you're always constantly tweaking things and just recovery slower than maybe it used to be, potentially maybe you could have some benefit with this. Compromised cognitive performance during sleep deprivation and stress. So this is where I'm going to cover a couple details later that maybe you've never heard is, and I'll just kind of preface it now so you hear it more than once, because I know sometimes we need to hear things more than once. But if you're in a high stress time, and I know some of you are that are literally sitting here today, maybe you're sleep deprived, maybe things have been going on, you can creatine load. Okay, so creatine load, which means maybe you're taking creatine like 3 to 5 grams a day, which is usually like one scoop of it if you get a container of it. And that's kind of the daily recommended thing. You can load up on more creatine for a short acute period of time, so like 5 to 7 days, and you can help overcome and kind of get your body performing better with this acute stress situation, sleep deprivation, things like that. Okay, so I'll cover that in a minute too. There's a slide on that. We might be missing neuroprotective benefits, especially during metabolic brain challenges. So again, kind of like the one above, if your sleep and circadian rhythm's really off, if there's high stress going on, you're kind of stuck in that fight or flight right now. This can be pretty beneficial. So again, not just for building muscle, right? So obviously, there's a lot of things. mTOR, if you've never heard of that, that's something that's necessary in the pathway for protein synthesis. So again, building muscle. So this is obviously part of it. And that's really one of the small things creatine is good for. So the truth is over 1,000 peer-reviewed studies show creatine is one of the safest, most effective supplements that's out there. I think it is the most highly studied actual supplement. I don't quote me on that, but I think that's actually still the case. 1,000 peer-reviewed studies, 30 plus years of research has been done on this, and the number one most studied supplement, again, as far as I know still. It's going to take a lot for anybody to probably surpass that. So the key research findings, excellent safety profile across all populations studied. Okay. I get the question about kids a lot. Should my kids take creatine? I'll tell you what, it's probably safe. Like, I'm not going to give it to my kids. I would probably wait until there's at least, I mean, I don't know. Again, don't quote me on this. This is not medical advice. Okay. But I've told a few of you, like, wait until they're higher teenage years. Because there's really probably not a need for it with most kids. But if you have a 14, I know what I was like when I was like 12. I was like, I want to be a football player. I got to start lifting weights, and I'd go in my garage. I know we didn't have weights in my house, so I would lift my dad's axes and sledgehammers and stuff. So that's when I started. So I wanted to take creatine. I didn't even know what it was back then, but 12, 13, 14, probably don't need to do that. But it's probably not going to hurt them, honestly. Number two, benefits extend beyond muscle to brain, heart, and metabolic health. So it really helps the nervous system and the brain. The heart has shown benefits, and then metabolic health as well. No evidence of kidney damage in healthy individuals. So that's kind of the key there, guys. Like I said earlier, the disclaimer is if someone has kidney damage, kidney disease, things like that, we got to be more careful. Effective across ages from adolescents to elderly, like I said already. What is creatine even? So I know you guys all care about all the details so much. So that's why I always put them in here. I don't know if you do, but natural compound. It's made naturally in the body from amino acids. The amino acids specifically are arginine, glycine, and methionine. Okay, so if you're getting high supplies of good quality protein and animal products like beef and chicken, you're going to have probably a good amino acid profile. You probably are getting enough amino acids to make this. Again, supplementation can be powerful as well. Dietary sources, well, I already said that. Red meat, fish, poultry, 1 to 2 grams of creatine per pound of raw meat. So that's the key, right? 1 to 2 grams of creatine or phosphocreatine per pound. I mean, how many of you guys are eating like 3 pounds of meat a day? Mm, Probably not very many of us. So you're probably in this day and age, we're probably not getting enough. So that's where the supplementation can be powerful. 95% of creatine is stored in your skeletal muscle, 5% in your brain, heart, and other tissues. So basically, it's a big time storage container is your muscles, right? So again, lean muscle mass and making sure you're doing resistance training is really important because you can store more creatine then. So you guys kind of get this, like these cycles all feed off of each other. The primary function of creatine is it serves as a rapid energy reservoir or reserve, helping regenerate ATP, which is energy, your cell's primary energy currency. Okay, so without adequate creatine, cells cannot efficiently produce energy during high demand situations. Okay, so that does not have to mean high demand situations. I don't know if any of you guys think about that, but if I hear like, oh, high demand situation, I think about like you know, like something physical, right? Like, oh, I gotta lift heavy weights, or I gotta go on a run, or maybe it's an emergency where, shoot, I gotta help somebody do something like high demand. That's not only that, you can have high demand situations in your brain, right? That's a high demand. High demand energy, like thinking, maybe you're enveloped in your work, maybe you have an important meeting, a presentation. All of these things can be high demand. Okay, so you need extra energy. Okay, ATP phosphocreatine system. So this is kind of how it works on a very basic level. But ATP is your energy currency. ADP is energy released, but then PCR is short for phosphocreatine. It donates what's called a phosphate group to the ADP, which then makes more ATP. I know who cares, really, but it's just like this cycle. Like the creatine, that's the important part. Is it's called phosphocreatine for a reason. The phosphate group is cleaved off, donated to this ADP, which then turns around and regenerates more ATP, more energy. Does that make sense? So it's these cellular processes that are really important. Um, and again, if you have good stores of it in your skeletal muscle, then you probably should never run out. Okay. So, rapid energy, like I said, okay, this can happen within seconds. This is how powerful, crazy our body's in, is that stuff can be released and then into your cells, and boom, you got energy like at like a split second. It's crazy. Your brain demand. Now, so brain health, cognitive function, all that kind of stuff. Your brain uses 20% of your body's energy. I mean, that kind of blows your mind. You think about how much energy everything else takes to move and to digest food and your heart pumping constantly, but the brain still uses 20%. Okay. So, and then the storage matters, like we said, higher phosphocreatine stores would equal greater energy reserve capacity. Kind of repeated that many times, so you kind of get that. So, 20% is used by your brain. Creatine provides acute cognitive support through improved working memory during cognitive stress. Okay. So if you have, and again, I'm getting ahead of it. I have a slide here in a minute, but like if you have like a stressful week coming up, like say at work or whatever, um, Diane's drawing on my screen. How is that happening? Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Maybe I did that, but I just saw her name pop up and then all these lines started happening. Okay, so anyway, maybe you have a stressful week. You have something going on where you could do an acute creatine load. Okay, and again, we don't want to do like a high amount of creatine all the time, but I'll go over the details in a second. But that would be something to think about. Neuroprotective effects during metabolic changes, like we said, positive effects on mood during stress and sleep deprivation. Said that a couple times, as you guys get that. And then support for prefrontal cortex function under load. Your prefrontal cortex is the front of your brain. And that's kind of what's also known as like the executive center of our brain, right? Decision making and a lot of those kind of things that require a lot of energy. And that's where like a lot of brain fog, if you suffer from brain fog, can be contributed from a lot of things, obviously, but that's one of the things is the prefrontal cortex is not obviously firing like it should be, and so this is one thing to potentially try. All right, sleep deprivation studies. So if this is you, if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep lately, or maybe you know somebody who's having some sleep deprivation, high dose creatine protocols have been shown in research to help this. Okay, working memory improved after 36 hours of sleep deprivation when using 20 grams of creatine daily. Okay, so now here's the standard dose of creatine is 5 grams a day, 3 to 5 grams a day. Okay, so a lot of people know that you do one scoop a day, maybe before a workout, after a workout. But so this loading that I'm talking about is you do more than that, obviously, and you won't don't want to do 20 grams of creatine every single day forever. Okay, that would probably not go well. So 20 grams of creatine daily. I'll go over some details here. But it has positive effects on mood and prefrontal cortex tasks following 24 hours of sleep deprivation. And then a single high dose improved cognitive performance and processing speed beyond wake baseline. So beyond someone's baseline. So these were the study findings, okay? So pretty significant, pretty interesting. And then there is an enhanced executive function during prolonged mental challenges and acute oxygen deprivation. So they even like had people like they just stressed them out, like with these really long mental health challenges in the labs in these studies, or maybe they that's crazy that they like deprived people of oxygen, but they did. I mean, obviously they know they weren't going to kill them, but it's like, man, there was even enhanced function just loading them up with creatine after oxygen deprivation. That's crazy. So it's pretty cool. So here's the real world applications for you guys to start thinking about. So considering acute high dose creatine protocols for you if you are experiencing again sleep deprivation, so night shift workers, new parents. So here's the thing is you guys are you guys, but again, think about people. Think about people. Think about your family. Think about friends, neighbors. If you know night shift workers, if you know new parents that are struggling, if you have like medical residents, I mean, people that are working 80, 100 hours a week, caregivers, managing overnight responsibilities, all of those kind of people probably are sleeping. Shoot, I don't even know why I didn't put this. It blows my mind that I forgot this because I have some of my best friends were firefighters and EMTs here in Lincoln, and it's like, oh my gosh, their schedules just like, I mean, they're 24 on, 24 off for however many weeks in a row, and then they get some days off. But it's like their sleep cycles are constantly being interrupted. I mean, they might get a good night's sleep one night, but most of the time they're having at least one or two calls in the middle of the night, even on slow nights. So, you can imagine their circadian rhythms in the nervous system. And I know some of you guys probably, I hope all my patients listen to these, but I know I'm working with a number of firefighter EMTs right now. So you guys, this might be something you think about that I haven't covered with you yet, potentially. High stress periods. So if you know students that are preparing for exams, obviously intense work deadlines, family crises, major life transitions, things like that. Post-infection recovery. So there's even been some data showing like with long COVID, right? So long COVID cognitive fog, so kind of that brain fog, just not feeling like yourself. That happens. It's been pretty common. Or other post-viral fatigue. So, who knows? Whatever virus, whether it's the flu virus or whatever. A lot of people suffer from kind of longer symptoms from that. So brain fog recovery. And then metabolic challenges. So again, that would mean something like, so you're traveling a lot, maybe across time zones, the jet lag thing, extreme physical demands, illness recovery phases, things like that. Okay, so again, obviously these benefits extend far beyond athletic performance and working out. Okay, so here's the protocols, if you want to call them that. Kind of, again, a maintenance protocol, which I already said is between 3 to 5 grams. So if you have a powder creatine, it's usually one scoop. That's gonna, have some good general wellness and long-term use benefits. The acute cognitive support, which we mentioned earlier, is 20 grams, okay, daily for 5 to 7 days, and you do not want to do more than that. Okay. And you also obviously would want to assess how you're doing. Like if you do this for 1 or 2 days and you feel like crap, like you're just even worse, well, obviously you're not handling that well. It's just like any supplement I ever tell you guys. So you might want to scale back a little bit. Okay. Obviously, you don't want to take 20 grams at once, right? So split that into four doses. Four is 4 times 5, 20. Did I do the math right? Don't ever always check my math. Okay. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay. Got my calculator out. High stress periods, neuroprotection challenges, short-term loading phase. So again, I don't know how many of you guys have ever tried this. I've done it before and I feel like it works pretty well. And then traditional loading, aside from the acute cognitive stuff, high stress, you can also do 20 grams and do that for again 5 to 7 days, and then go down to 5 grams daily. Kind of go back down to that maintenance protocol. It's essentially the same thing. The acute cognitive and the traditional are essentially the same thing. The acute cognitive support, they've just shown that 20 grams for 5 to 7 days, and then someone stops taking it, they still see benefit. But the traditional would be okay, 20 grams, 5 to 7 days, and then go down to that maintenance protocol, which is 3 to 5 grams. Okay, make sense? Cool, cool. I think I'm almost done here. I think I've already said all of this. So just kind of throw these up for you guys to look at. But again, yes, it can help you increase your lean muscle mass, strength gains, power output, faster recovery with your body, improved muscle repair, all of that good stuff. Okay. Sarcopenia is the, I guess, fancy medical word for age-related muscle loss. So I know we all know people in our lives who, as they've aged, they've just gotten weaker and weaker. And so it's not even just like, well, and you guys probably know this because you're obviously all very smart, bright people, but like, I'm going to use my grandmother, for example. We called her Granny. She wanted to be called Granny. I don't know. Maybe what's the Beverly Hillbillies? Was that the show? I remember watching that when I grew up. Maybe she liked that a lot and just wanted to be called Granny. I don't know. But anyway, her posture got so bad over time, like just completely hunching over, like to where she was almost like facing down and then had to pick her head up like this. So again, of course, that's going to drive all sorts of issues, spine problems, neck problems. And the reason that happened was because of this muscle wasting, the sarcopenia. I don't think that lady exercised a day in her life more than walking, right? Like there was no like it was maybe it's a generational thing, right? Like exercise back in those days, maybe when she was, well, I don't know. This is just me thinking out loud, but it's like, did people have gym memberships? Did people go like were they coached and told they needed to lift weights? Probably not, maybe, I don't know, but she just didn't. And it really, really, really made the last 10 to 15 years of her life miserable because she was healthy. I'll never forget it. We're at fireworks. You guys know where that's at in Lincoln here. And she literally, kind of the traditional story is like she stepped down off of a 4-inch curb and fell and ended up having a hip fracture, pelvic fracture, spinal compression fractures. I mean, she was a mess. All of that, I mean, most of that would have never happened if the lady would have just lifted weights, done some resistance training, and then done things like this, right? Like in the postural things, it just all came from she had no core strength. Postural support muscles, right? You guys get the point. So as we get older, all of these things become even more and more important. So starting now, obviously, is what you want to do. And I know most of you guys in here exercise and lift weights and do all that. Here's something that I want you to think about, and maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't, but creatine has been most commonly recommended to take right before you work out. And I think there's been more research that has shown post-workout actually may be more beneficial. Okay, so if you think about it logically, like before you work out, it's going to potentially get some of that. You might have more energy during your workout, right? And because you're going to put that phosphocreatine in your system. But more so than that, like if you take it after workout, your muscles, you have increased blood flow, you have increased insulin sensitivity. So the storage capacity of this phosphocreatine actually going into your muscles to be stored for later use is higher. Okay, so then if tomorrow I work out, I don't have to depend on maybe taking the creatine right before I work out. If I have enough stores in my muscle, it's going to be dumped in anyway. Does that make sense? Because remember how I talked about how this is like a very fast acting system? If you have a high demand going on, the brain signals the muscles to dump this phosphocreatine in your bloodstream, and then boom, there it is. It goes right into the cells. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so I've actually experimented with myself with doing, I'm not telling you, I'm my own guinea pig a lot of times. Not telling you guys to do this because you don't necessarily want to do higher doses. You know, a lot of you guys, I mean, I'm 210 pounds. So it's like, you know, if you're 100, you might want to do lesser doses, like say 2 to 3 grams before a workout and then 2 to 3 grams after a workout. So that was my point is I've done 5 grams before and 5 grams after. And I felt like that's actually worked really well for me too. So again, could think about splitting that up as well. I do not think there's any research on that. That was just kind of in my own head, kind of made sense, and I wanted to try it. So it went pretty well. But what this says is consistency matters more than timing. So as long as you're consistently getting that in your bloodstream so it can go into your muscles to be stored, then that's the key. Okay. Who benefits the most? Aging adults, of course, because all of those things. Vegans and vegetarians. So if you guys know vegetarians or vegans in your life or in your house, they obviously are going to have lower stores because they don't eat meat, right? And we talked about the highest levels of creatine in food is meat. Okay, so they definitely need to be on a creatine supplement. Athletes, high stress professionals, okay, and that could be any profession. Of course, we all have stress. Um, Post viral recovery, we talked about. Shift workers, we talked about. And then again, I already said this the research has shown vegans and vegetarians, okay, because they have such a lower baseline. Oh, I want to make sure. Okay, I forgot to put this in there. Creatinine. I have this happen all the time, and it's confusing because creatine is not the same as creatinine. Those are two very similar words, and they're very different. Creatine naturally breaks down into creatinine. So, does anybody know what creatinine is? Like, have you heard this term at least? Because you probably have, because it's usually tested on blood work. And they're like, oh, you have really high creatinine levels, you have kidney disease. You know, like that's oftentimes what's said. What and again, hopefully the doctors are kind of smart enough and know enough to know like it's a natural byproduct of not only supplementation but also just naturally. So yeah, you need to look at it, but you also need to not depend just on that one blood marker. If someone and this is where like I've done blood work on all of you guys. And I know a few of you have had high creatinine levels, and I usually don't even hardly bring it up because it's like, unless there's other indications of like major kidney issues going on, then I'm not worried about it. Right. So, unless it's sky high, right? If it's sky high, then that's a yellow flag, red flag. We need to look higher level in the kidney function. Okay. But this is kind of where that myth comes in. Creatine has not been shown into any research studies to be a sign of kidney damage. And then, so again, logically, creatine, see, I even get the words mixed up. Creatine breaks down into creatinine and then it's passed through your urine. So take that for what it is. But again, the research has shown in healthy individuals with no other kidney disease past history, even with long term use, has been really healthy and fine and nothing but benefits. Okay, said this 3 times now, but if you have pre-existing kidney issues and stuff, obviously consulting with physicians before supplementing would be wise. Okay, safety certified by all of these organizations. Minor side effects, always want to at least talk about this because again, I think with any supplement, doesn't matter if it's natural, unnatural, whatever, you gotta like dose it. I would always titrate, start small and work your way up. You guys know that because that's what I coach you to do. Usually start small, titrate up, see how your body's responding. So because water retention, some people have, usually it's temporary. Some GI discomfort can happen and then weight gain, and that's usually going to be water retention, obviously, but potentially muscle, which is why in-body scans and looking at your actual body composition. So if you're like gaining weight, and you're like, what the heck's going on? Well, is it muscle or is it fat or is it water? And those in-body scans that you guys all usually do show all of that, right? They show your water content, they show your lean muscle mass and your fat mass. Okay, so don't always worry about the scale. Stay obviously well hydrated all the time, but especially if you're going to start to do something like this, or maybe you're going to thinking about doing the higher dose because you're stressed out and blah blah blah. Drink some extra water. Okay, use the micronized form and then mix it thoroughly. Third party tested, of course. The micronized monophosphate form is going to be great. The GMP certified, obviously, anything that's certified. Third party tested is basically the point. You guys get it because there's a lot of companies out there that bastardize all these products, man. It's like you go to Walmart and there's 15 creatines. It's like, are these really creatine? Like for 12 bucks? I mean, maybe, but you don't know. So, okay, so many fillers, so many, oh my gosh, like the dosages, it's just so unregulated. You guys all know that. I'm preaching to the choir, but it's like if it says 5 grams, of the one scoop is 5 grams, are you getting 5 grams of creatine monohydrate or are you getting 1 gram? Right. And then it's like, well, no wonder it costs so little because the rest of it's like white powder. Does it taste like powdered sugar? That's, you know what? If I was a corrupt marketing person, I would just put powdered sugar in a jar with a little creatine and be like, man, people are gonna be like, this is good. This tastes really good. And then, yeah, that would be awesome. And it happens. Creatine monohydrate. Okay, so that's usually what a label's gonna say, and that's kind of the gold standard form with most research backing it. Okay. Oh, and avoid, and this is with a lot of supplements. I mean, there are some really good supplements. Obviously, some of them I even recommend that have proprietary blends, but it's like we know what's in those because they're research companies that are making them. But if you're looking at like general supplements out there, they buy at big box stores, I would really hesitate with proprietary blends because those usually, and this is with creatine, but it really goes for any supplement. It's kind of a way for them to hide what's actually in it. They can market this or I don't know how I honestly don't know what the process is, but they might be able to go through some of the regulatory bodies or maybe patent processes, I honestly don't know, and get their proprietary blend, and it's like a secret. It's like they don't ever have to tell anybody what's actually in that, so that's a little scary in a way, and also usually corrupt, potentially, not always, but sometimes. Okay, so just review. Oh, obviously, the 3 to 5 grams daily maintenance dose, 20 grams for a short period of time for acute stuff. Okay, creatine supplementation should be viewed as foundational cellular energy support, not just a sports supplement. Okay, so again, good for everybody, just about. And then I'll just throw this up here if you guys want to screenshot this or anything, because this is just kind of recapping it. So, dosing, candidates, timing, key benefits, quality markers, and then the cautions. All righty. And then again, just kind of review. Creatine is one of the most researched and safest supplements. It goes far beyond muscle building. It's the kidney thing's not really supported by research unless someone already has pre-existing issues. And then the high dose protocol shows significant benefits. Okay. Um, Stop letting the myths hold you back from evidence-based neuroprotection during the most challenging moments. So again, if you guys ever like hear like myths or kind of are wondering about stuff, I'm not going to know the answers to everything, but if it's pretty easy to do research, and I know how to research stuff. You don't always want to trust Google or AI, but that is something you can do because it is pretty fascinating what it can pump out. Um, so you can always ask me, and I'd be happy to either do a talk on something like this. This talk, I probably would have never talked about creatine if Becky hadn't brought it up. So, I love hearing things from you guys, questions, so that way I can address things that maybe I wouldn't have thought of. Okay, so if you're wondering, I don't know if you guys take a really good form of creatine. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of companies, but again, Hummingbird, and I haven't said this for a long time. Hummingbird is a white label of Zymogen. So Zymogen is spelled Xymogen. Zymogen is a really amazing company, like research based, like third party, all the things. Okay, so Hummingbird's just a white label through the functional medicine program that we do and I'm a big part of. So it's the same price as the Zymogen stuff, right? And this is going to be all their stuff is high quality, high quality, right? And it's why it's a few bucks more usually than other supplements. So if you're taking something that you know is high quality, great, keep taking it. I don't care where you get it, but this one in your e-store would be maybe something to try. Maybe you take one and you want to try something different just to see. Get Creatine Pro X, okay? Because it's a really good one. And I've noticed the difference myself. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but I even like some of the local nutrition stores and stuff, like their creatines that they have, a lot of them have multiple options. And like, you start taking something like this, it's high quality and you can notice the difference, right? So then you kind of just wonder what's in the other ones. So, okay. Any questions? I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Questions, comments, concerns?
I have one.
Go.
What about like pre-workouts? Like, how do you feel about those? Yay, nay?
I mean, it depends. That's a huge subject. It's a huge question because it's like some pre-workouts are like really great because it's like branched chain amino acids and it's like maybe there's a little caffeine in it, which caffeine is kind of another thing. There's a lot of myths behind it. We don't want to chug energy drinks and coffee all day, but a little caffeine has positive effects too. So, read labels because do I like a lot of the energy or the pre-workouts out there? Absolutely not. No. I mean, if you take this goes back a lot of years. But when I first got into, well, this goes back even further, like football years. There was guys on my football team in college that, man, they did some crazy stuff. Like at that time, like legal things, but like ephedrine, you guys remember that? Like stuff.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I feel like my hair's growing, like the crazy effects like that. And then like, but when I got started getting into CrossFit training, it's like everybody's down in these energy, like these pre-workouts, and it's like, my whole body's tingling and like that's not okay. That's something's not going like so a lot of those do that. And I think that's too much. Okay, so does
Okay.
that make sense? I mean, yeah, look at
Yeah.
the labels. A lot of the a lot of the pre-workouts are going to have a lot of those proprietary blends in them. Okay, so that would be the one thing I would watch out for is try to find a clean one. And I wish I could say, oh yeah, go get this, but I don't take a pre-workout, honestly. I mean, like if I'm really kind of dragging one day, again, I do the creatine before I work out. And then I might have like a half a cup of coffee or something. Like that's usually my pre-workout. I've wasted so much money over my life, thousands of dollars and all of the pre-workout, post-workout, blah, blah, blah. If you eat whole food, this is what I wish someone would have told me back then and slapped me over the side of the head. It's like, eat whole food, take care of yourself. And I mean, I have more muscle mass and am leaner than I was when I was 25 doing all that stuff. Like, and I'm 42 years old. I should be going the opposite direction, and it's just not the way it is. It's just lifestyle, right? So anyway, I'm blabbing tangent here. So good question though. Anybody else? Okay.
I have a quick question. Sorry.
Who is this?
Um,
Who is this?
Diane
Oh,
Sneevil.
Diane, I didn't know you were on. Cool. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you. All right. What's the question?
Um, would this be something that would be recommended for kids as far as like
Yeah.
going through major life changes?
Yeah, did you hop on late? Because
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, that's all right. I kind of addressed it, but no, I specifically know your kids' situation. So what I said was, the studies all show it's safe, right? And I've always hesitated to say give something like this to kids. I've usually kind of just on my own, kind of like I don't really have a really good reason other than my own kind of gut, is I wouldn't necessarily give a lot of it to my kids until they were 13, 14, 15, 16 maybe,
Okay.
if I felt like they needed it. Now, in your situation, um, definitely slow dose, right? Like 1 or 2 grams. I mean,
Okay.
you could experiment with that a little bit. I would say that'd probably be fine. And just watch them, make sure they're reacting well. Again, it's a natural thing. Like creatine's in food, so they should
Yeah.
be absolutely fine. This is why, and again, especially get the hummingbird product because then it's clean, and doesn't have crap in it.
Okay. Well, I guess I can talk to you more about it later. I just was wondering, like when you were talking about all of it, if it would be something for kids and if the dose would be the same. So
Oh yeah,
that
now I
answers
see
all
you
my
actually just
questions.
opened the chat. I just see you put that in the chat. No, dosage, I wouldn't do the dosage. No,
Yeah.
an adult is 3 to 5 grams. So small adults, that's why it's 3 to 5. Doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but it is. I mean, 3 grams for a smaller, you know. someone that's 100 to 120, 130 pounds. And then, and again, that's just rough, but like I'm going to take, that's why, as a 200 plus pound guy, that's why I feel like I can take, 10 grams a day and be fine.
Okay. And I was thinking that I had some of this, but I think I had acetyl carnitine. Is
Yeah.
that's different?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Another, also good, but yes, it's different than creatine. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good questions. All right, y'all. Anybody else? Enjoy oh my gosh, Diane, palm trees. I gotta go. I gotta go now. Now I'm just upset. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. If you're in Nebraska, oh my gosh, get outside because it is beautiful here too. So hopefully everybody has a blessed rest of your week. I will see y'all next week.